a trial should have never been brought, but if we had a jury, it would have been fair, at least, even if it was a somewhat negative jury, because no negative jury would vote against me. But this judge will, because this judge is a very partisan judge, with a person who's very partisan sitting alongside of him, perhaps even much more partisan than he is. So we are doing very well. The facts are speaking very loud. He's a totally discredited witness, and you haven't seen anything yet.
There's the former president violating a gag order that was supposed to stop him from continuing to sick his foot soldiers onto the judge and his law clerk after he took his latest L in court. This is how he attacked them the first time around.
This trial is a rigged trial. It's a fraudulent trial. Frankly, you saw what was just put out about Schumer and the principal clerk. That is disgraceful.
What was put out by Mr. Trump himself, a photo since taken down of the judge's law clerk posing with Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The unmistakable suggestion that Mr. Trump can't get a fair shake at trial as he continues to rail against the case as politically motivated, causing Judge Engoron to hand down a limited gag order. Mr. Trump now banned from talking about court staff.
And since he violated that order, he was punished by the judge he attacked. But just like the spoiled and petulant child that he is, Trump couldn't believe consequences were actually being handed down. So he did what any other angry toddler with no home training would do. He screamed, and then he held his breath and stormed out. No, he really stormed out.
Now to Donald Trump. He took the stand in the courtroom here in New York, got fined $10,000 for violating the judge's gag order in his civil fraud trial.
This happened after Trump in the courthouse hallway called the judge very partisan and said there's a person who's very partisan sitting alongside of him. Trump has attacked the judge's law clerk before and been admonished not to do it again. Trump was in court to watch Cohen, who testified his ex-boss directed him to make his net worth whatever number he wanted it to be. But on cross-examination, Trump's lawyers questioned why Cohen told Congress back in 2019 Trump did not direct him to inflate his net worth. The defense threw up its hands, asked the judge to end the trial because of Cohen's contradiction. When the judge refused, Trump stormed out of the courtroom, catching everyone, Robin, even his Secret Service detail, by surprise. On the witness stand, Trump insisted he was aiming his remark at Michael Cohen, who spent 2 days on the stand, but the judge did not believe him. I find the witness is not credible, the judge said. I find the witness was referring to my law clerk. The judge fining Trump $10,000 and warning next time it will be worse. The judge saying, I am very protective of my staff. I don't want anyone killed.
Let's check in on the leadership qualities of this former president. He stormed out of a courtroom because his former employee continues to reveal secrets that damage his defense. This is a politician that convinced all of MAGA that he's got the right temperament to think clearly and calmly in the face of an emergency for Americans. But he can't sit in court long enough to accept his fate. He's shown that he believes in America as his and his alone. And anyone that disputes that is apparently anti-American. And his main problem is that the New York Attorney General is an adult. And despite the hair pulling and chair flipping, Leticia James presented reporters with the actual facts.
This has been a 4-year investigation, and there is mountains of evidence which basically corroborate the testimony of a number of witnesses. It's also important to know that Michael Cohen is not the main witness. His evidence has been corroborated by the mountains of evidence, enough evidence to fill the courtroom. And so I look forward again to this trial continuing, and I always look forward to justice. Thank you very much. And let me also remind you that the judge has already made a decision with respect to the summary judgment. There is sufficient evidence to prove that, in fact, Mr. Trump, the Trump Organization, and the other defendants committed widespread fraud.
Nothing angers people more like Donald Trump than someone he considers inferior to him illustrate just how much smarter and emotionally stable they are than him. And for that person to expose some of his lifelong fraud in court, it's mind-boggling to him. And the only other thing that might piss off the wannabe mobster even more is when a lifelong loyalist flips on him.
When you looked him in the eye, Michael, what did you see?
I saw a defeated man. I saw somebody that knows that it's the end of the Trump Organization, already found guilty of fraud. The license will ultimately be taken, and now this entire case is merely about how much. This is merely about how much disgorgement the Attorney General will be seeking.